Appearing before the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriations Committee, Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u reiterated Kenya Kwanza's bottom-up economic transformation agenda, noting that fiscal consolidation is top of the agenda.
We have a financing problem because our budget space cannot allow. But on the other hand, you cannot borrow to effect to finance those development projects. So essentially, you don't have any headroom, or you have very limited headroom in terms of borrowing. So those two constraints can only be solved by our fiscal side, that is expanding the tax base. We have to slow down annual growth in public debt. And obviously, everybody is agreeing to that. But the most important thing is that we want also for us to move in that direction is not to stop borrowing, but to make sure that we have an effective liability management. And we have seen that in the short term, this is the one that can give us some fiscal space.
Even though total revenues to December 2022 grew by 7.9%, the Kenya Revenue Authority hit below the target by 44.8 billion shillings.
There's a lot of anxiety in the country about increased taxes. And now we are seeing, we are mapping rental properties. As an ordinary Kenyan, I'll be worried that I'm going to pay a little more on rent. I'm going to pay a little more if I was a motorcycle rider and the exemptions that were there before have been removed. I'm going to pay a little more to buy my motorbike. So basically, we're going to pay a little more on every single little thing.
With a raft of new taxes coming into effect this year, the CS said heavy taxation does not necessarily translate to more revenue.
What we are saying, we are going to rationalize the tax rates, but we need to move from tax instruments because they are not the same across, isn't it? We are going to move into each particular tax instrument and try to optimize it to the point where it does not distort the market, it does not distort investment decisions, and more importantly, it does not create incentive for you to run away from taxation.
The supplementary estimates reduces the current budget by 14 billion shillings, though Treasury says the 300 billion shilling reduction from the current financial year promised by the President has already been achieved.
The overall fiscal deficit level, including grants, is now projected to be 5.7 from 6.2%. So that answers the question: Have we reduced this budget by 300 billion? The answer is yes, and you can see that, and the budget deficit which we have targeted, which is from 6.2% of GDP to 5.7% of GDP.
The MPs further inquired over abuses around Article 223 of the Constitution.
That 32 billion was paid prior to the general election, and we are investigating to see what was the hurry for, was this money paid for, because that is our work.
The supplementary has reduced allocations towards development and an increase towards recurrent expenditure, though Treasury promises to reduce tax exemptions, scale up use of PPPs, and roll out end-to-end procurement systems to help better manage expenditures. Noah Kipkemboi, KTN News.
All right, thank you, Noah Kipkemboi. They are speaking about Kenya's borrowing, which is just there despite the skyrocketing cost of living and an aggressive taxman. I've seen the Treasury Cabinet Secretary saying, who has reassured also Kenyans, that the Kenya Kwanza government wants lower taxes for Kenyans. Now, this follows the first supplementary budget for the Kenya Kwanza administration, shedding off 14 billion shillings from the current budget. Now, we're going to also be following up on this and seeing what will happen when we move on also in the coming months. Also now, to the matter of the day, now where we are going to be speaking about Valentine's, and as the world celebrates Valentine's Day, more flower sales are expected.